Welcome everyone again. My name is Yasin and I'm from communication team. Today I will be the tech support for this session. The session today is recorded, so make sure to open your camera and leave your question on the chat box. If you stay until the end, you will get a chance to ask the facilitator today many questions. Today, Thais will lead the session beside to Jeffrey. Let me give you a quick introduction before we start. So Thais Faris is a senior talent partner at Jumpstart Refugee Talent. She holds a master's in global affairs with a specialization in global justice. And Jeffrey Rahim, he's working as a referral program manager at CIBC and bring over 12 years of sales and recruitment experience. So over to you, Thais. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I just realized I was on mute. Before I begin, I just want to reiterate that if you'd like to change your names, I believe that most of you would have used the Zoom link from my last email and not the original registration email, but you can change your name. Next to your face on the screen, you should see three dots at the top where you can unmute. You're allowed to rename yourself. You can put your first name, first and last, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But hi everyone, happy Thursday afternoon. I know it's 5:30. It's pretty late depending on where you are. But welcome to our resume session, and it's called From Generic to Job Winning, Resume Mirroring Made Simple. So I just want to start off by saying that resume mirroring is a tool that everyone should know. We're all, in the employment field. We all want to see you all, really embark on your true potential and find meaningful employment to Canada. And resume mirroring is one of the ways that's going to get you there by tailoring your resumes to the job posting. And that's a skill that many of us may not have, but I'm hoping that by the end of today's session, we can all learn from today. So just a couple things on the agenda for today. We will begin by we had a short welcome, and we will start off with a quick icebreaker. And we will then dive into what is resume mirroring, why it's important, and how to resume mirroring. Then we'll get deep into a live demo. So I'll show you a job posting, and we'll talk a bit about one resume versus the second resume, which resume is stronger. And then we'll do a further deep dive as to what keywords mean, what resume mirroring really is about, some different strengths and weaknesses of tailoring your resume. Then we'll have a breakout activity where we'll separate some of us into groups. Each group will have a facilitator there from the Jumpstart team, and also Jeffrey from CIBC, who will be assisting us in terms of, doing the activity. Then we'll have wrap-ups, key takeaways, and then lastly, we will have an organization called Student Catalyst that will be doing a little info session for 10 minutes on their programs and services. So we had the intro. I'm not sure if anyone else is seeing the line across the screen. I'm not sure why that's there, but just bear with me. Once again, Yassine introduced me, but I'll do a quick introduction on myself again. I work at Jumpstart Refugee. Next year will be 2 years, and I'm a senior talent partner. And I hold a master's in global affairs with a specialization in global justice, human rights, and security. So everything in the migration field is very passionate for me. I love helping refugees reach their full potential and to navigate the Canadian job market. And I've assisted in helping hundreds of refugees craft their resumes to seek meaningful employment in Canada. If Jeffrey is here with us at the moment, I would love for him to, give a couple of moments just to introduce himself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I'm showing up as Tara, but Thanks for thanks everyone. So yeah, my name is Jeff Rahim. I am the referral program manager here at CIBC. A little bit about me: over 12 years of sales and recruitment experience. I've screened over 50,000 resumes. I've conducted thousands of interviews, as mentioned there. Within the last 3 years, I have supported early talent, technology, and learning development initiatives at CIBC, and I'm very thankful, it being U.S. Thanksgiving, for Thais and Nicholas to have welcomed me to this. Looking forward to meeting everybody and helping out.
Perfect. So let's start with our icebreaker. It's gonna be something super simple. I just want everyone to quickly write in the chat, tell us what your dream job is in 3 words. And this can be some keywords about your dream job. This can be characteristics, what you do every day in your dream job. Just tell me what your dream job is in 3 words in the chat. And I'll give everyone maybe a couple of minutes just to do that. I'm seeing all these Thaises sending their messages in the chat. Just in case anyone didn't get the intro, you are allowed to change your name. Just click the 3 dots next to your name and you can change it. So we're seeing innovation consultant, addiction and mental health counselor, database administrator, admission advisor, accounting technician, banking, network engineer, a pilot from Daryl, financial manager, interpreter, translator, community health worker. Okay, so everyone is pretty much very different today. We have a lot of different industries, which I love to see. Electrician, warehouse, community health. Okay, perfect. Now we're just gonna have a poll quickly on the screen. Yassine is gonna pull up a poll for us, and it's gonna be a quick question asking if you tailor your resume to each job posting. And please be as honest as possible. If you tailor it to every job posting, you can put yes. If you tailor it sometimes, you can say sometimes. If you don't tailor it at all, please put no. And feel free to continue typing in the chat about, your dream jobs and stuff. We'd love to know more. At this time, I would like to ask Jeffrey to, take the reins and to chat a bit more about resume mirroring and how that pertains to ATS, which for those who don't know, it's the applicant tracking system. So I don't want to say too much. Jeffrey, feel free, take it away.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Thais, for introducing that. So yes, as she mentioned, an ATS is an applicant tracking system. At the end of the day, it's a software platform, or really a database of all candidates. Most companies, these are small businesses, large corps, government, tech, retail, they use some form of an ATS. So Workday, Taleo, Greenhouse, Lever. You can figure out which one is which if you look at the URL of the company that you're in, the career site. That'll give you an idea. So what does an ATS actually do? So it stores your resume in a structured way. It parses information. It allows recruiters to filter by keywords or skills, and it will track your progress through steps like screen, interview, offer, rejected, withdraw. It is not a robot making hire decisions on its own. There is a live person at the end that is reviewing your resume and determining if you move forward into the review pile or if you are moving into a rejected pile or whatnot. Couple myths. I know I probably don't have a lot of time, but a couple quick myths, and I hear this all the time. I got rejected at all hours of the night. That means there must be an AI. How do I beat the AI? Again, there is no AI that is rejecting your resume. Recruiters are very passionate individuals. We have a 9 to 5, and sometimes when we don't have enough time in the day, we sometimes work overnight or at all hours at night. Sometimes I do it. I'm sitting on the couch watching TV and I'm going through resumes and I need to reject candidates. So that's the one quick method I really want to use. The second thing is if you don't use the exact right keywords, ATS will delete you. Again, it will not. It is a recruiter that's doing that. So this ties into the second thing, which is why does resume mirroring matter to the ATS? So really what this means is using the same key skills, terminology, language from the job posting. Thais will probably get into it in later slides, but tailoring your resume to the job description. Well, think of it this way. We'll probably come in with having a general core resume that we use. And then we're going to have resumes that are going to be tailored to specific roles. So for the folks that want to work in the pharmacy industry, or for the folks that see a role as a pilot, you're going to use two separate resumes with the same information that you've done. So that way your experience appears more aligned to the role at glance so that recruiters can find you much easier in searches. And the biggest thing, you avoid being overlooked due to different wording. So customer success versus customer support. Again, it's not about gaming the system, it's about speaking the same language as the recruiters. So that way both the ATS and the recruiter clearly see that you're a match.
Perfect. And I think it's super important that you mentioned all of these things because there's a bunch of myths about, AI with the ATS and all of these different things. And often our clients are, pretty scared that, okay, if they don't have the correct thing on the resume, then they're just eliminated entirely. So it's really good to hear you say that, that's not the case. But it still does matter about what we put on the resume, right? And I think that's what we need to hone into a little bit. Like our language matters, our keywords matter, like we have to be very, very specific as to the information that we add on our resume because that's what's going to help us get seen, right? So now, what I would like to do is this is a job posting. It's very basic in comparison to, other job postings. I tried to make it as simple as possible just for the sake of the presentation today. I don't want it to be anything, too drawn out. But as we can see here, the role is for financial accountant, right? So some responsibilities, as you can see on the screen, are listed, and then they also have the qualifications. So what I would like you guys to do is tell me in the chat, what are some keywords that you're noticing about this job posting? If you were to do a resume, even if your field isn't in financial accounting, I want you to tell me, just based on looking at this job posting, what are some keywords that you think are necessary to have in your resume? Or what are some things that you think you must have in your resume? So you can type that in the chat. Perfect. And while you guys are doing that, I'm just gonna quickly download the presentation and share again because the lines I want it to be to be presentable. Perfect. Okay, managerial skills. Anything else? Accounting software. Okay, perfect. Try to match the job description. Great. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you one resume and I'm gonna ask you for your thoughts on that first resume. So this is the first resume. And I want you guys to tell me in the chat, or if you feel comfy speaking, feel free to raise your hand and we can hear from you as well. Tell me what your thoughts are on this resume. If you were a recruiter and you're looking at this resume in comparison to the job posting, tell me what you think about this resume. Is it good? Is it not good? Does it meet the requirements? Tell me what you think. Okay. No, not organized. Missing. Okay. Good to go. Anything else? Does anyone, notice anything that the job posting asked for that this resume doesn't have or maybe does have? Okay. How do you please define keyword for us? Jeffrey, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so in terms of keywords, so for example, as a recruiter, when I do an intake session with a hiring manager, remember, there's no 10 out of 10 candidate, and we also, as talent advisors, we are really enforcing that with hiring managers. If we try to find a perfect candidate, there's actually a lot of red flags. We may not have time to get into that. That could be a whole other conversation for itself. So, if a role says we're looking for somebody with 3 to 4 years of experience in accounting using SAP FICO and strong Excel skills, those are the key words. That's what we're looking for. And make sure that you have clear examples. I put it a little bit higher up in the chat of those impact metrics and success. I apologize if you're going to get to it, Thais, but
Oh, no.
what we say and what I and hopefully if everybody forgets everything that we tell them today, if you remember these three things, um, don't tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis. Show me examples of success. So for me, when I look at this junior accountant that's managed accounting systems for small business clients, for me, I'm like, well, of course you do. What have you actually done? I want to know how many small businesses, what accounting systems. When you say assisted with tax returns, can you give me an idea on quantity? I've assisted in over 500 tax returns with a 98% accuracy. That, as a recruiter, that is what I'm looking for. That's what matters to me.
And I think when we look at this resume, and then I pull up the second resume that I want to show you, which is this one, there's a clear difference, right? So if you guys, can tell me in the chat, what are the differences that you're seeing? And what I'll do is I'm gonna pull them up side by side so you can see both of them in comparison right next to one another. Tell me in the chat or even raise your hands if you're, comfortable speaking. Tell me what is the difference and really look at it from the lens of what Jeffrey just spoke about, the successes. Tell me what you actually do versus just telling me what you do on a day-to-day basis, right? Because I think this speaks for itself, but I would love to hear, everyone's opinions on what they think in the chat. So I think if we're touching a bit more on this, not only do you see successes, but it's a lot more professional, I would say. It's very much in alignment with the job posting, right? And what we want to specify on specifically, and what I want you to also remember is even though we might talk a lot about aligning to the job posting, tailoring to the job posting, we don't ever want you to fabricate information that you don't have, right? It's never about making up information just to align it to the job. What we want to see is you to take whatever experience you do have, and we want you to tailor that in a way that it aligns with what the job is asking for, right? Because everyone has the experience. You do have the experience. You just need to know how to change the language into a way that it speaks on the resume, right? So Tara just mentioned it in the chat, MS Excel versus Office, all of these different things, it's pretty specific. It's important to note, right? So just a little bit, just to touch on, what exactly resume mirroring is, or just some key takeaways. The ATS does not just count the keywords, it also evaluates context. So simple stuffing is risky and it backfires, right? Especially in an interview. The recruiter might ask you something that you had on the resume, and because you didn't even write it yourself, or because you may have used ChatGPT, or because you may have just stuffed that word in there, when they ask, hey, how did you do this, your mind is going to go blank because now you don't even remember when you wrote that, because it may not be true, or it may not be the way that you actually did it, and that's going to lead you to a lot of problems, right? You have to use the job description to identify relevant keywords and skills. Look at the job postings, see what it's asking for, right? And I'm seeing, the poll is up now, so you can feel free to answer while I'm chatting away, but place keywords thoughtfully in the resume, right? Put critical keywords in your summary and in your profile, but don't just drop it in there in a way that it doesn't make sense. Use your skill section. list your technical skills, your softwares, your technologies, all of these things, right? And then, Jeffrey, I'm not sure if you want to touch on this slide.
Yeah, absolutely. I was typing in the chat. I was just saying, Thais, I agree with you. And everyone can laugh at me if they want. Judge Judy has a saying, and she says, when you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. So exactly what Thais has mentioned. I do recommend you can use ChatGPT to help tailor, to help give you a head start. But the moment you start making things up, and the moment I start digging in and asking specific questions about lines in your
Yep.
resume, and it has happened, if you can't get specific and detailed about the work that you've done, we'll find it out. Honestly, within the first 5 minutes, we'll be like, this person's fake. So yes, make sure that you are actually putting in the skills that you have done and using. You can use it as a to help. But anyways, going on to this, exactly what you'd mentioned, quantify. I want to know numbers, percentages. What was the result? We've all heard of the STAR method of answering questions. So kind of the same thing with your resume. You think of it this way: your resume is meant to speak for you in an area where you don't have a voice yet. So one of the questions that I asked our co-op cohort at CIBC a couple of weeks ago is, does your resume get you the job? And overwhelmingly, everyone said yes. And we said, no, it doesn't. Your resume gets you the interview. Your interview gets you the job. So in order to showcase, hey, this is why I'm great, we look for past patterns of success and impact. So again, if you're able to quantify things that you've done, we see that as, oh, Thais had examples of success in her previous roles, and I can see the story. Therefore, she might be a good fit for this particular role. Then she gets moved into the let's review a little bit more with the hiring manager pile. Again, exactly what I had mentioned, create that master resume that has all your experience and achievements. And then you're going to have to maybe branch it off and fracture it, tailoring it. So if it's a project manager position, you're going to have a bit more bullet points about scope or amount of people you've led. But if it's a project coordinator role, maybe it's about the small minor things that you've done. And again, you can test exactly what she'd mentioned here. You can test it before you submit and use an ATS simulation tool like JobScan. I can also send along some AI prompts that you can use as a mock recruiter that say, based on the job description, it's missing these, or you may want to highlight this or whatnot, or here's a brutal assessment, and here's why, and maybe here are some areas of opportunity that you may want to take into consideration. Thanks, Thais.
No problem. I think that would be really helpful. I think someone raised their hand. I know we will do questions after, but this is the first person that raised their hand, so I'd love to give them a chance just to chat really quick. Feel free to unmute and
Yeah,
you can.
I have a question for you. You were mentioning like the way that we're like structuring our resume. What I had a problem with is sometimes, I'm not gonna say always, sometimes, let's put it that way. The recruiter one day were like I had a call, two times happened. I had a call from the recruiter. I was like, what I found out, like they didn't understand my position actually. So like there was a word that like I'm from the technical department. And engineering when you're for me because I work in engineering, so I know what's the meaning of technical. So we work with design, we work with procedures and other. But then she thought I'm an IT. I was like, and she was talking with me. I was like, I told her like, no, I don't know if we are in the same um, page because what I saw, like, she doesn't understand what I did. So even sometimes when we're choosing the right words and trying to be more specific, what I found was like, I don't know if you guys understanding the specific words in my domain. So I just wanted to touch base on this because you were mentioning this. I was like, what do you guys think about this?
I think Jeffrey would be the perfect person to answer this question because he actually does this on a day-to-day basis. I can share my thoughts after, but I feel like you'd get the most from his response.
Yeah, no, this is a good. I mean, this is a good discussion point. So, I mean, I won't defend that recruiter. I'll say that it happens sometimes. I mean, the advice that we give is absolutely tailor, use the right keywords based on if you've done the actual work. But like with anything, you're going to get a few people that probably don't understand or whatnot. That doesn't mean don't continue to do the right thing, which is tailoring, using the right keywords or whatnot. Um, I always say take things like that as a learning experience. Not everything is perfect. Not everything is going to be, every role that I apply for is going to get me an interview, going to get me a job. If that's the case, we would have zero unemployment. Um, but look at it as a learning experience, and maybe you can go back and reflect on, okay, is there a way for me to make things a bit clearer? Yes, I'm using engineering, and maybe the mot du jour is IT engineering. Is there a way that I can make it a little bit more specific to civil or professional engineering or mechanical engineering? May not be the answer you want to hear, but yeah, you're right. Sometimes there are folks, and I've worked with them, that are just kind of in it for the paycheck and not for the passion. But it happens. I think it happens in every role. I'm hoping it's not. It's what's the word? It's an exception and not the rule on that. But
Oh
hopefully
no,
that helps.
no. I get your point. It's just like in sometimes it's kind of tricky because
Yes.
I worked on my resume a lot, and I'm like I am getting interviews, as Daryl just said. Like that's a success, which is good. I'm someone who people are interested to know more about me, and I'm just giving this example because like I know how, like it's just like a sea. It's a big, like you don't know what to choose because even the perspective of the recruiter themselves is different. You like I know AI goes like for a stage, but then you as a human, you're gonna read this resume. Sometimes, I don't know, you guys like it and you want to have the interview and you go for it, and sometimes doesn't. So
Yeah.
sometimes being specific also doesn't help. That's why like I wanted to know like what should we do?
I'll still stick with my. I'll always stick with be specific, storytell, use the right impact metrics. I think exactly what Daryl had mentioned. Your resume got you the interview, which is success. Continue to run that play. I think if you start automatically, it's like in investing. The moment you start panic selling, that's not good. Sometimes you need to just dollar cost average and keep the course. It's working. Maybe in this case, it could be on how it's being explained, or again, maybe you just got somebody that doesn't fully understand, and that's a problem on us. So that's a problem on the recruitment side. We sometimes we get folks that need to ask the right questions, that need to be a little bit more naturally curious to better understand what they're, when they're chatting with those professionals.
Yeah.
And that. But I would still say, if I were you, it seems to be working. Continue to stay
It
the
did
course.
work actually. It did work. That's
There
why
you
I
go.
joined. Like it did work. I was like, I do have an offer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you guys.
And I think that's something that we can all leave with as well. Sometimes in everything, there's always going to be challenges, and especially in the employment sector, there's a lot of things that, may not be clear or may present itself as a hurdle to you. But I think, like Jeffrey said, once you continue to do the right thing and you continue to do it to the best of your ability, which is tailoring that resume, studying the organization that you're applying for, preparing for that interview, all of these different things, eventually it's going to lead you to the place that you want to be. Okay, so one opportunity may not be perfect, but it's going to lead you there. And once you get there, you're going to realize that, okay, all of this work finally got me to the place where I need to be. So I just want everyone to continue being as motivated as possible, even when, everything feels like it's crashing and it isn't working. That's why, we have organizations like Jumpstart that you can come and talk to, and we will try our best to make you feel as safe as possible in your employment journey. So just to reiterate one thing, only mirror language and not experience. And this goes back to the entire thing about honesty and integrity in your resume. Always be honest. You did the work, you have the experience, you just have to describe it in the employer's preferred language. And pay special attention to the employer's preferred language, because a lot of jobs may be in banking, but TD might have a different language that they put on their job posting than, CIBC or all these other different banks. So you need to pay attention as to what organization you're applying to and what their language is so that you can speak it. Now, what we're going to do is, and we're running pretty good on time, we're going to give maybe 5 to 8 minutes for a breakout room session. And what we're going to do is I'm going to send it in the chat. But what we're doing is you're going to pretend that you're a recruiter. And each room will be given a job posting and a resume. It's going to be super short, 1 page with the posting and the resume. And what we would like you to do is quickly scan the resume like you're a recruiter, focus on job titles, skills, bullets, and numbers, and tell us what improvements you think the resume needs, such as missing keywords. Are the bullet points weak? Are there unquantified achievements, unclear skills? And if you have the time to rewrite one of the professional job experiences, you'll see it in the bullet points. If you have the time as a group to rewrite one, that would be great. But if not, definitely spot the improvements and come back and just, let us know in the chat what you thought. So